Hi, this is Adam Гассов from Satan and Adam. We're continuing this series of free-form lessons on the subtleties of blues harmonica, the secrets, the things that gets mystified, for which there's no reason to engage in mystification. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to share everything I know about this instrument, all the things that don't show up in the tablature. And if you think, if you think about that, well, amps are one thing that don't show up in tablature, the care and feeding of old tube amps. But tone is something that can't be notated. Tonality, microtonal tonality, which is what blues is all about, can't be notated. You can try, but you can't get it. And rhythm, meaning groove and swing, can't really be notated. Well, those four things, or those 3.5 things, tone, microtonal tonalities, and swing and groove, if that's not the heart of blues harmonica, I don't know what is. And of course, this stuff can't be notated. And I think, so any method you've got that doesn't really engage that paradox isn't really teaching anything. So let's talk a little bit about tone, and I want to talk about the one-hole draw. Now I'm using a B-flat harp. This is a real weakness among players, I think. And there's just one obvious, easy key thing you can do, but I'm going to play you just a little bit of the one-hole draw the way I like to play it. Actually, let me take that back. I'm going to start by playing the way I think that most of you probably play it, which is you probably make it quack. It's a phrase that Tony Glover uses in his book that I learned from years ago, Blues Harp, make it quack. You probably have a pretty small resonating cavity in your mouth. You probably have your tongue pretty far forward. And you probably make a sound something like that, quack, quack. I'm sort of exaggerating, but I'm doing that to make a point, because many players don't realize that there's actually another way of playing that one-hole draw. And there is, and it's a very powerful way of playing, but it requires that you make a modification. So this is you, and this is me. Let me try that again. You. Now what did I do? Can you figure that out? Well, I dropped my jaw. There's a CD with Big Walter Horton and Carrie Bell, where Big Walter's like that. Well, that's what he's doing. Big Walter knew about all this stuff. He knew how to play the high harps, but also how to play the low notes on the lower harps, and that's what really we're talking about. We're talking about what do you do on that one-hole draw when you're playing cross harp on a G harp, or a low F, as Dennis Grunling does, or the A harp, or this B flat harp. Those are the harps where it really makes a difference. The difference between and. I want you to hear the difference when I amplify it. I've got my 2 amps set up. So this is the bad way, and this is. When I add vibrato, let me do without vibrato and then with vibrato, and then with. And if you come into it with a bend. So dropping your jaw is going to turn out to be the key thing here. It's not as important on the 2-hole draw, but certainly it's partly important, but mostly on that 1 hole. And if you reverse that process, raise your jaw, or put your teeth together, you get a tiny sound. Now sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want to thin it out. So if you're playing amplified, whoa, that was making it quack, right? Mostly I want the low, strong sound, right? But now notice, it's easy when I'm doing all that jazzy up and down, and it's easy for me to kind of gloss over the whole. It's when you're playing a ballad, see, that you really need to have these techniques, right? So let me think of a good. Let's talk about vibrato, not on the 1-hole or 2-hole, but on the 4-hole. And let's talk about that artificial distinction between, well, it's not really artificial, but there's a distinction that I used to always make and that a lot of players still do between throat vibrato and gut vibrato. Well, is that for real? Now, and the idea used to be that throat vibrato somehow was higher and more percussive, and that it was the real thing you wanted was the gut vibrato. I think that's not true. I think I'm doing a throat vibrato, and I think it's deep and clear and strong. But the fact is, there is another kind of vibrato, and when I do, there's a few different things that I do. Sometimes when I'm playing the 4-hole with a little bit of that 5-hole, and often when I'm playing a bent 2-hole draw, like at the end of a song, the classic Chicago blues ending. Now, if I did that with my throat, even as well developed as my throat vibrato is, it wouldn't work. It does, but I like it much more like this. What am I doing? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm literally moving my diaphragm in and out. Same on this. But that's not how I usually do it. That's my throat vibrato. It's not really moving down here, right? So the point is there are two different kinds, but that second kind, that belly vibrato, is much less efficient, I find. It's strong. It's there for you, but you don't really need it. There's only a few occasions where I find that I use it. So I think that's the end of this lesson on vibrato, and come back at you with something new next time around. Thanks.